Hello everyone, I'm going to be doing a look today that's very suitable for the very extreme fair skin like my own. So it's sort of the makeup look that I could wear on a day-to-day basis, and it happens to be one that I do wear on a day-to-day basis. It's not as extreme as the usual kind of looks that I tend to bring to you on YouTube and certainly wear in photographs. It's a look that I think suits everyone. The concept of the look certainly, but the products I'm using today and the tips and techniques are more suited for the very fair skin tones. As I know a lot of people with similar skin colour to mine do struggle to find products suitable. I have a video on YouTube already about pale foundations. If you're struggling to find foundations, concealers or powders light enough for your skin tone, then I would suggest you check that out. I'm going to begin by using a Roche-Posay toner on my skin. It's quite cheap, this one, but I found that it's one of the few good toners that really soothe my skin, and I just use it on cotton pads, particularly around my beard area, which of course I start with a clean shaven face, but I tone my entire face. It's just really to soothe it down more than anything. I'm now going to use this Neutrogena SPF 100, and I used to use an SPF 110. I prefer to use the highest I can get, but I tend to take a little bit of a blob of this. It's quite dry, this one, but I apply it everywhere and down my neck. I don't like these really heavy, greasy, thick ones. I like things that tend to have more of a drier texture to them. Now this acts like my moisturiser and my primer. I take that down the neck slightly as well and slightly onto the ears. I think it's really important to take it onto the neck and the back of your neck if you're wearing your hair up. But I always take a little bit of it down my neck and onto my ears. You need to protect your skin anyway, no matter what skin tone you are. But when you are my shade of skin, you need to take extra care because it burns faster than any other skin and it discolours very, very quickly. So if I went out in the sun, I'd get a lot of freckles, and I do. I tend to wear quite high-necked tops, clothing that covers all areas of my skin, and I'll tend to wear black gloves as well all year round to avoid sort of demarcation from the sun. I tend to avoid the sun as much as I can, as it's my nemesis in this life. I'm now going to go in with a bit of highlighter, and this is Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfector in the shade Pearl. Now the reason I'm going in with this first, before any form of foundation, is because the base that I'm using is a little bit matte. It's quite matte. It dries, certainly dries matte. And if I try to sort of blend it in after I've gone over the matte foundation, it will just start to almost curdle. I think it's a really good word to use. Now I like to build up in thin layers because this is also suitable for summery weather. Now I'm going to take this Uemura underbase. This one has got more of a pink tinge to it. I actually prefer the look of the yellow one, but because it's a little bit pricey, I'm going to use this one up before I purchase the yellow one. The thing about the pink one is it matches my skin and it's the right shade. However, it does make me look a little bit sort of like I've been stung after a while. After a few hours, my skin looks a little bit too pink. So the yellow one I think will be perfect because my skin's already quite red in the face. In comparison to my neck, there's a bit of redness to my skin and my face. So the yellow one would probably be more suitable if you've got a little bit of redness. But it requires a little bit of a shake. It's a foam, but it's fantastic. So what I do is just I apply it in different areas. Now it may seem like it's not really doing much, but it actually really evens out the skin considerably. And I just tend to stipple it on in the areas that are required. So down the centre of my face. It also has SPF 30 in it, so not really suitable for flash photography, but perfect for every day, and certainly a double bonus if you're very fair. Now what I love about this foam is that you can build up in layers, and it looks really, really natural, but it is slightly, ever so slightly, a little bit too pink for my face, but I can still work with it. But I'm certainly going to repurchase it in the yellow shade once I've used this one up. Now I'm just going to colour correct my under eye area, and I'm now going to use a Dermacolor Creme Concealer in the shade D2W. It's a little bit too dark, this one, but I'm going to mix it ever so slightly with Dermacolor's D406 just to lighten it up slightly, but I'm doing it with my finger because these are very drying creams actually, and if you use a little bit of it with your finger, warms the product up and makes it more smooth to work with. If you happen to be unfortunate enough to have a beard, or concealing it, you can take some of that orangey colour and just cancel out. But as this is more of a natural look, I try not to apply too much. Now I'm going to use this Bobbi Brown Tinted Eye Brightener. It might be a little bit slightly darker than my skin, but when I tried it on, it looked pretty good. And I'm applying a bit of that to the under eye, quite a bit of that, just to around the sides of the nose, a little bit on the chin, and then I'm just taking my finger and tapping that. I quite like this one. I only bought it the other day and this is my first time actually using it, but it's quite moisturising. Now I don't really mind having a little bit of highlighter or this area a little bit lighter because it acts like a natural highlight and broadens the face. Even though this is a very basic makeup, I'm always adding my little feminizing tricks, because the broader the eye section of the face, the wider it is, more feminine you appear. I think with this look, the skin is really the main feature of, you know, healthy skin does look really fantastic, and just making sure that everything's well blended is crucial. Now the final step in skin, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of concealer to areas that really need it, and this is D707. I'm just taking that on a pretty standard concealer brush, and I'm just applying that tiny sort of pimples or marks that I have. Again, particularly around my chin, I tend to get quite a lot of spots. One being due to the fact that I have facial hair, and two, I shave. I try not to apply foundation to my nose or any form of product, due to the fact that I wear glasses when I work. When you wear glasses over foundation, it leaves a mark and disturbs the texture of foundation. So I try to avoid applying any there. And now I'm just stippling, but I'm holding the brush quite light, even though it looks like I'm applying a lot of pressure. I'm not actually, it's sort of just sitting in my hand. So it kind of works like a fingertip. Now that's the skin more or less complete. It's sort of a very natural looking, quite healthy looking base. Nothing too heavy though. I'm sort of resembling a cross between a goblin and an embryo, so I'm going to quickly move on to eyebrows. And I'm using another Dermacolor concealer. This one, however, I decanted into a pot as I take it around with me everywhere. And I find this colour perfect because it's sort of like a very grey based green, so it looks perfect against my hair colour. And I keep it underneath of the brow quite perfect. With the top I feather slightly so it looks more natural. So the brows are applied, and they're a little bit more synthetic looking than I'd originally hoped to go for. So I'm just going to correct the edge of them with a tiny bit of concealer. So I'm now just going in with some of MAC's Studio Fix Powder Foundation in the shade Shimmering White. Now up until recently I was convinced that this was called Shimmering White, and I could never understand why they called a matte product Shimmering White. But it's called Shivering White, which makes perfect sense. So a mistake on my part. And I'm just applying that just to the areas that require a tiny little bit of setting and lightening. So under the eye area. So with the skin and brows complete, I'm now just going to add a tiny bit of black eyeshadow just to the outside of the eye. And I'm just going to wing it up slightly. I'm taking that on an angled brush. And what that does, it just lifts my eyes up ever so slightly without it being too dramatic. And then I just take a sort of pencil brush and just smoke the edges of it, just to take the harshness of it. And I take that ever so slightly just underneath. And if you don't feel that they're blended, you can just sort of smoke it into the socket a little. It's really, really simple. It's only just black eyeshadow, tiny bit of smoke to the eye. This is a little bit more than I'd originally go for on a day-to-day basis. I'd usually just go for mascara, but sometimes I feel like an extra lift. Then apply mascara. I'm just using MAC Zoom Lash, a personal favourite of mine. Now for blush, I'm using Illamasqua's Katie, and just dusting that on the cheekbone, just ever so slightly. And then as my contour, I'm just using a tiny, tiny bit of Omega, just to shade it slightly. Now for lips, I've got very reddish lips as it is, so I'm going to go for my usual colour, which is Charlotte Tilbury's Amazing Grace. And it's one of her matte lipsticks. And what I like to do first is apply it to the lips, then line the lips. Now that's a very bright lip colour, but what I do is, because I've got sort of very uneven lips, I use another one of her products called Pillow Talk, which is a lip liner, and I correct my lip line. So that's the look more or less complete, but I'm not really feeling the lipstick now that it's all on. I think it looks a little bit too makeup-y. So I'm just using a damp cotton pad just to remove off some of it. And then I'm going to apply just a tiny bit, dab it on, and then add a little bit of Carmex lip balm just to the top of it. I think some is matte, 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 matte. Everything can look a little bit dead, and it really looks like makeup when everything's quite matte. So that more or less completes the look. It doesn't really require that many products, and it's quite simple. This is certainly a little bit more than what I would wear every single day. Usually I'd only wear the foam with under eye brightener as well as mascara and eyebrows. But today I added just a tiny little bit more. I mentioned previously in a video that my website is currently under redevelopment, so you won't be able to see or check out any of my work there. But I tend to post a lot of my work and photos on my Instagram account, which is exactly the same as my YouTube, Cosmetic Consultant, or if you search for John Maclean. I hope that you'll find today's tutorial either interesting, helpful or useful. And once again, thank you so much for watching. And of course, take care of yourself. Bye!